Hello and welcome to today's TED Ed lesson. During the presentation, we will explore the theme of person-centered care, which will have a key focus on the prerequisites of nurses as healthcare professionals. Within this, there will be a focus on the different skills and capabilities of the registered nurse and how these attributes are based around the person-centered care framework developed by McCormack and McCants. By the end of today's lesson, our team hopes to provide you with the information and understanding that you will need in order to successfully gain the abilities of a registered nurse within the focus of person-centered care. Person-centered care involves establishing therapeutic relationships, trust, and respecting and understanding a person's values and rights according to McCormack, Dewing, and McCain. The World Health Organization also defines person-centered care as an approach that adopts the perspective of individuals, families, and communities and sees them as participants as well as beneficiaries of trusted health systems that respond to their needs and preferences in humane and holistic ways. A person-centered nursing framework was developed by McCormack and McCants from the general ethical principle that patients should be treated as persons. The person-centered practice framework is comprised of 4 constructs, which are prerequisites, the care environment, person-centered processes, and expected outcomes. The first construct of the framework is prerequisites, which focuses on the attributes of staff. These attributes are important as they are considered the key building blocks in the growth and development of healthcare professionals who can deliver effective person-centered care. During this presentation, we will discuss more of the prerequisites framework and why these prerequisites are important, focusing on the skills and capabilities of the registered nurse. As a diverse group with different values and preferences, we strongly agree with all the definitions of person-centered care. We understand that it is important that all parties involved in using the healthcare system are treated as equal partners in developing, planning, and monitoring care to meet their tailored needs. As students studying in the healthcare field, we are also aware of the importance of educating, respecting, and including all decisions about a person's health.
Moving on to the 5 attributes that make up the effective person-centered care delivered by nurses. These include being professionally competent, developing interpersonal skills, being committed to the job, demonstrating clarity of beliefs and values, and knowing self. Even after registration, registered nurses must dedicate to continuing education and participation in professional organizations to become expert in practice. Other than the completion of certain roles, the RNs must keep their knowledge and skills up to date and possess additional attributes, including the ability to think critically for safe, effective, and accountable practice. To be able to develop good interpersonal skills, registered nurses must interact with their colleagues, patients, and their families in a safe, compassionate, and professional manner. As a registered nurse, we must utilize advanced communication skills to develop therapeutic relationships with our patients in order to understand their holistic needs. Registered nurses must use a full range of communication methods, including verbal, nonverbal, and written language, to acquire and interpret the knowledge of patients and understand their needs. Good interpersonal skills build confidence, which helps the registered nurse become a better health practitioner. According to McCormack and McCants, the commitment to the job at the most basic level is described as the dedication and sense that the nurse wants to provide care that is best for the patient. Xanthe highlighted that commitment involves much more than mere intent. It implies devotion and action, sending oneself out into the world in active expression of one's avowed values. Commitment to the job can be considered at an individual, team, or organizational level. Dedication to the job is important when our actions affect someone's life directly. It is important to remember that the life of a nurse can be challenging sometimes, but we can't sacrifice commitment to our job. McCormack and McCants focuses on the awareness of the impact of beliefs and values on care provided by practitioners, received by service users, and the commitment to reconciling beliefs and values in a way that facilitate person-centeredness. Everyone has different beliefs and values, and it is important that the registered nurse can clarify their own beliefs and understand these may differ from their patients. This clarification of values can help the registered nurse understand why certain decisions can affect patients in different ways. The way nurses deal with the situation depends on their personal values. Self-examination is an important skill which helps align one's personal values and beliefs with the prerequisites outlined in the person-centered framework.
According to McCormack and McCants, knowing self is based upon the assumption that before we help others, we need to have an insight into how we function as a person. In the context of person-centered framework, the way an individual sees him or herself and the way they construct their world influences their nursing practice and how they engage with their patients. Self-awareness is very important in nursing because the values, beliefs, and assumptions we hold as a registered nurse might not necessarily match with the values of the variety of people we have to deal with in practice. As a registered nurse, it is important to recognize who we are, what we value, what we like, why we do what we do, and what we need. This leads to recognizing individual approaches and justifying the conflicting situations. This process can be sometimes painful when we receive feedback that we were not aware of ourselves. Although difficult to hear, we must view this as an opportunity to learn and develop. Whilst it is easy enough to identify prerequisites that would outline the ideal nurse to support the person-centered framework, there are numerous challenges associated with enacting these requirements in real-life practice. Those in leadership roles face further challenges of not only ensuring their nursing staff adhere to these prerequisites, but also ensuring they act as role models by practicing the requirements they are expecting from their team. Being professionally competent is essential to effective person-centered care. However, naturally, not all nurses have put in the same effort throughout their degree. Thus, they may be all deemed competent due to their completion of their nursing degree, but not to the same level. Whilst it is always beneficial to have high-achieving nurses, it is imperative for leaders to maintain a minimum standard and monitor nurses in their workplace to ensure all are practicing above this threshold. Also, staff will generally display to their managers or leaders their best and most professional work ethic. However, this may significantly change when they believe they are not being watched by those higher up. There are ongoing challenges for industry leaders to continually monitor and improve the efforts of nurses to meet the prerequisites, as well ensuring these efforts are consistent. Another potential challenge with implementing the person-centered framework comes with the prerequisite clarity of beliefs and values. Whilst it's important for nursing employees to feel safe to express their unique cultures within their workplace, there are also boundaries that need to be developed around this. It is essential to communicate that they should not press their beliefs on patients, particularly if these oppose with the patient's views and may cause confrontation. This necessary distinction supports cultural safety for patients and their nurses.
Practice innovation in nursing uses acquired skills and knowledge that have been learnt to creatively develop an initiative that can reduce the strain on the healthcare system. Practice innovation in healthcare that was designed to support patient-centered care was the second project of the Nightingale Fund. The Nightingale Fund was raised in Florence Nightingale's honour during the Crimean War. The project was to fund a midwifery nurse training program at King's College Hospital and was led by Mary Jones. The reason this midwifery nursing training program was initiated was because at that time, most women in Britain were delivered at home by midwives with little training. A midwife nurse was considered qualified to deliver at a normal birth and to call a doctor in response to signs of complications. However, Florence was concerned that the midwives' short period of training, approximately 3 months, sometimes less, They may have never seen an abnormal birth, thus not being proficient at recognizing signs of complications. There was considerable demand for a trained midwife, which Nightingale's decision to fund the project was in response to. Obstetrics were also still a new specialty in hospitals around the time, and there were periodic epidemics of puerperal fever. When Nightingale made her decision to fund the project, more women were dying from accidents of childbirth than from puerperal fever, further indicating the importance of more training. The program was established with the best known practices. Nightingale also consulted Dr. Edward Rigby because of his system of midwifery that provided extensive coverage to puerperal fever and the appropriate ways to prevent and respond to it. This resulted in careful attention to laundry and ward cleansing. This funding for education and focus on best known practice is a good example of supporting patient-centered care because this improvement in the workplace and work practice are in the interest of improving quality of patients' cares, ultimately reducing or preventing patient mortality. We hope you enjoyed today's TED Ed lesson and gained a deeper understanding of the prerequisites of registered nurses, their skills, capabilities and attributes, and how this relates to person-centered healthcare. The aim of this presentation was not to only understand what the prerequisites of the RN are, but also to explore the challenges associated with adhering to these. We hope the Florence Nightingale Practice Innovation example demonstrated the essential use of person-centered care in real-life practice. Our team hopes that this information will be useful for you when you approach and apply the knowledge and skills within the healthcare environment, whether it pertains to the patients, the staff, or the teams you are involved in. Brielle and myself would like to thank you for listening to our presentation today.